I will already start. I'm Dieter van den Broek, and my main interest is mainly looking at what James been talking about. How can we restore this social capital? How can we set up a process that people come together, are passionate about what they're doing, and try to change the living environment they live in? And I believe a learning network, what we need to set up, we need to look at. So I work for a South African non-profit organization called Living Lands, and our vision is mainly to establish collaboration on a living landscape. So 4 years ago we started with a learning network called Presence, Participatory Restoration of Ecosystem Services and Natural Capital. I don't want to go into detail of all what we're doing. There is a poster session down, which kind of methodology we use to bring people together. I just want to give you the lessons learned. And what I think two important components are what you need to do when you bring people together on a landscape. So all our partners, don't want to go into detail, we want to restore living landscapes, and then mainly what we want to have is a learning network that support existing and catalyze new programs. We're doing it supporting 3 programs. The Spekboom project, what you heard about, 500 euros is going to be planted for Spekboom. Working for Wetlands is a South African government-based program that restores wetlands, and then a Dutch government program. We mainly focus on the Baviaanskloof nature reserve. It's a big 500,000 hectares area. We've been mainly working in this area, and we're based here where I will tell something about. But I think when we want to work on a landscape, you need a kind of hub. So we established the Presence Learning Village. So it doesn't only stand for the thing, but we believe you need to be present in the area. We cannot come in and out all the time in an area and think we can make a change. You need to be present there all the time. So it's a hub for restoration and research. We had, over the last 4 years, we have 50 students from MSCs and PhD all over the world coming, doing research, but the research was driven by the people on the ground, and they were always involved from the start. South African international students, we involved local communities. We shared information and experience by doing workshop, field trips, knowledge exchange. And we now as well developing a botanical garden to get tourists into this learning hub and other people and as well the students. This is the location. So we organize trips where we connect the local workers in the nursery with school groups to learn about and interchange knowledge. Nursery. We had just a workshop with 25 students from the area, all doing different kind of research, but they never connect, so we brought them together so they connect and share data and ideas. We have beautiful brides and they eat a lot of meat, usually in South Africa. And we work with children. What we try to do now is setting up a program where the students and the lessons they learned, they engage with children. And we think it's a really powerful tool for people to realize what they're doing and give that to children. And it's always a nice picture to see, our botanical garden, learning lava and everything else. But what's now a learning network? We've been doing this for 4 years, and I've been struggling with that. What is it now? We've been looking at it, and we did some research on it. So in business, they talk a lot about learning organization and how can they swap their business around into more learning organizations. We looked at inter-organizational networks, so when you have a network with different organizations, what is known about that, and participation management. So we had all these different authors, they had all different kind of things what had to be managed in this kind of network, and we started to look at what kind of similarities there are and what are the important building blocks. 5 important building blocks what we saw, and I will go fast through them. So the first one is stakeholder, oh sorry, that was too fast. The first one is stakeholder inclusion participation. So we need to identify our stakeholders where we start, who are the stakeholders, what are their needs, and engage with those needs. And I think somebody said it before, we need to have clarification of our stakeholders, We need to engage with them and active participation. And when I believe with active participation, it's not that we go and talk with them, what are your needs, okay, fine. You walk off, you do all your research, and then come back, oh, here is the report, and deal with it. I think active participation is continuing engagement. You do your work, you go in the field, you measure something, engage farmers with that, so they start learning with you. And as well, I think as scientists we have a responsibility, because we want to develop these learning networks. We need to give our skills, what we learn, we need to give that to a community, so they can start doing learning as well. And we have a perfect example. A student came in, set up a monitoring site, and he did it with the farmer, and the farmer is now, that's his monitoring site. He's collecting the data, he's bringing tourists to the site, he's bringing other farmers to the site to explain what's going on, and they're continually learning. So I think as a scientist we need to engage all the community in our learning from the start and continually. Perceptions and attitudes, we need to be open, and we need to be open for experimentation. And mainly, I think in our society we see failure as a bad thing. I see failure as the best thing ever. Because when we fail, we realize that we did something wrong, and then we can start adapting and learn from it. Some people say, I never fail. I think they're lying, because you fail all the time. And when you fail, you at least realize it. Or I fail all the time. You need to understand the system interconnected and thinking. It has to be built on voluntary links. We cannot make a network work, make a memorandum for understanding all these big fuzzy things. It doesn't work. It has to be voluntary links. It has to come from the heart. We need to connect in a deeper level, and it has to be based on a spiral of trust. It has to be on learning. It's not only about everybody learning. We need stakeholder and individual learning, collaborative learning, and continuous organizational learning. So what we saw is the problem is we can facilitate this pretty well. We can bring communities together, but the challenge is can we then as well facilitate and go into the organization that they start being more a learning organization. Leadership, we need a learning leadership, not a person who stands on the top and tells everybody what to do, but the adaptive. I don't believe anymore in the one leader. We always think of that one leader. We need multiple leaders. We need to stand up together and make a difference. And you need this network, what the person before me said, somebody in between. And I call it a bartender. I see myself as a bartender. We put on the right music. We see the party going on, put on the right music, and we provide the drinks. The people in the audience, or the party makers, or they need to make the party, they need to dance, but we can facilitate that. You need to create a shared vision, and what is your unified purpose and strategy. And the last one is network knowledge dissemination, and you need to bring external people in as well. And I think when we talk about terminology, we need to make a difference between information and knowledge. We are scientists, and sorry that I'm going to say it, we create information. Only information becomes knowledge when it's applied, and we have to make a difference in that. So what we've been doing, and what I think is important when you want to facilitate this network, you need to integrate things, different programs, you need to link them together, coordinate on-the-ground research, because a lot of research, we get all these questions of research coming in, but you need to coordinate and link people together. You need to involve different people, ensure open and continuous dialogue, communication and dissemination of new knowledge, stimulate collaboration, be an interface, catalyze new ideas, and I think for me the most important, it has to be done on trust. I think trust is a big issue. But for me, learning networks, and I think for me the best one, these are two definitions that comes out of business. I think this for me is the best one. A learning network is a place where people can continually discover how they can create their own reality. And we know, and that's I think for me a message, is we know in conservation how bad the world is. But I think we have to stop saying that message, because we're not getting anywhere. We keep on saying how bad it is, and people get really disconnected with us. They don't want to hear it anymore. We need to give them hope. We need to give them hope that they can create a better society. And with restoration and ecosystem service, we can do that. But really, we need to stop all the time, focus on the bad. I think, look at yourself. A positive message you want to engage with, a bad email you put aside. So I think that's my message. Thank you.